that imposter syndrome that you might think you have, people are out there watching you. So continue to do what you're doing because people are listening and people are watching and people are feeling inspired. I still cry when people send me messages that say, you inspire people I don't know respond to some of my writing or some of my videos. And they just send me a message, you inspired me. You don't know, but I've been following your journey. And because of what you did, I've done this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, it's just so amazing. Thanks so much, Rob, for having me. I'm excited to talk to you and the audience. So my story is interested that I've always been an entrepreneur, even as a young girl, selling Tootsie Rolls door to door, making salsa and selling it to people at work. I've always done something on the side. And when the pandemic hit, I was already consulting on the side. And my entire team was let go. And so I knew that life had to be more fulfilling than always measuring my emotions to that of a corporation. So people, when I've always been in sales and I've always managed sales teams. So when your sales team is hitting their numbers, you're the rock star in the company. When people aren't hitting their numbers, you're in the bottom barrel feeder, right? So I was really tied to those emotions of company culture and company success. And I was very happy when I exited and was able to really lean into those things that made me happy. And I could follow my why and measure my success to my own personal brand that I really started truly finding my happiness. So that's the backstory. I've done a lot of entrepreneurship. Pandemic hit. I had always been that person that rewrites my LinkedIn profile at night when I'm bored in bed. Like, people can't believe I would do that. And I found that people actually built businesses out of teaching people how to get visible online. And so I've always also been very curious. I have the gift of curiosity. I've even helped somebody plan an engagement on an airplane, sitting next to somebody. He was in the Army. His wife-to-be was a Marine. And so he was flying into San Diego and he was so excited. He was telling me that he was going to engage or ask this woman to marry him. So we planned the whole engagement in the sky, and he was making notes. And so just with my curiosity and questioning and being very genuine and authentic with people, I built that as a brand and a business to help people understand who they are and how they show up in this world. And that personal brand is something that corporate America cannot take with them. Pandemic come, pandemic go, your personal brand is here to stay. Corporate buyout, corporate transition, your brand is here to stay. So that is why I do what I do, is I think it's so important for people to have clarity about who they are, what they stand for. It breeds confidence. And it's just something that I see people open up with. And I just absolutely love having those aha moments with my clients.
Yeah, I really like that you mentioned that. And one of the things that we find a lot is that personal branding seems to be very polarizing. People either really buy into it and they see the value, or they cringe when they hear the words and they just kind of dismiss it. Could you just kind of give us in a nutshell, like, why people should care about it and going forward in the world, if you leave a mark today with a certain personal brand, like how it might affect your trajectory in the future?
Personal branding can change through your values. Some things that you value today might change a little bit in the future because you might be raising young kids, and your family life and protecting that family life is super important. And then when they leave the nest and you're all alone, well, maybe you value travel now more or experiences more. So personal brands and some values can change over time. And that personal brand, though, is something, once again, that you can take with you as an employee, understanding your values and protecting those boundaries are so important to your happiness in a corporation. Let me give you an example of that for me personally. I love wine. I live by the kind of wine. Today, it's a great day, so it's going to be a red wine day today, right? But if it was really sunny, it might be a rosé, from my days going to Spain. And so I worked for a company that was Muslim based. The founders were from Syria. I also really love prosciutto, also from Spain. You can't go to Spain without having a rosé and some sort of prosciutto somewhere that you go, right?
Agreed.
And so I was forbidden to eat pork at any company events, order pizza for clients with sausage, take barbecue to some office that absolutely loved barbecue. And I also could not drink anywhere near anything to do with the company or take clients out for cocktails or anything. And that was just so against things that bring me joy. And so then you kind of have to sneak things and be secretive about them. And it just creates a toxicity between that company's culture and you and your own person. So that's why understanding your personal brand and understanding your values and things that are so important to you and bring you joy are important for a brand, even as an employee. So that's why I would be in favor of a personal brand, because you have to know yourself to grow yourself. You have to know yourself to grow as a human being. And if we're not growing, we're dying, right? So you have to just know those things that bring you joy, know how you can make this an impact in the world, know what gifts you have that you can share with the world. It doesn't mean that you have to be an entrepreneur. You could have a passion project. You can be you could have a family member that maybe passed from cancer or HIV or something that you're passionate about. But that kind of defines you as well, that you stand for supporting those things that are important to you. It could be you stand against animal cruelty, you stand for diversity, equity, and inclusion, those things that are important to you. If you stand for DE&I and the company you work for has totally no women programs, they have no diversity, it's all male, pale, and stale, and you're like me, a Latina female, then maybe that's not even the right company for you, and you could be so much happier someplace else. So a personal brand is very, very, very important, in my opinion.
I agree. And I think what would be great for us to know from a personal branding point of view, and you also mentioned, your background in sales. To me, I feel like those two things are a lot about storytelling. Is there any particular structure that we should be using when we're talking about our personal brand? And what kind of mistakes do you see people making on their LinkedIn profiles?
Storytelling is, I can always get better at telling stories, but as a sales representative, you are presenting to your product or your service to the buyer, and you are always telling stories. Your job is to connect with your buyer on an emotional level. So you need to understand the problem that they have, how you're going to branch your solution to that problem, and then the beautiful story of maybe a case study or something, so that all of those pieces of a sales conversation can be combined into storytelling. The company's background, some very unique pieces of the founder that maybe your target market can also connect with on an emotional level. So knowing which pieces of a story to bring into a sales conversation are really, really important. So just like an acronym PSSM, there's a problem that you're solving. Your job is to shift the problem from problem to solution. And then that solution is whatever you're selling, whatever methodology it is that you're using to solve the problem. So that's kind of a very small framework that you can use if you need to stop for a second before you start to speak. What's the problem? How am I going to shift them from where they are to where they want to be? And then how is my solution going to solve that problem and make everybody happy? using those simple frameworks will help you say less words and be more articulate with your stories. So that's the storytelling piece. Personal branding in sales is so important because a lot of people work for companies where their service might be commoditized and they might have to sell on a price point, which is almost always a losing battle. But as a sales representative, you might not be in control of price. You are in control of the story you're telling, the success stories that you can relate, and your own personal brand and how you're going to differentiate yourself in the marketplace. So I've had people and sales reps that worked for me that were lollipop. A woman was a lollipop woman, and she always had Tootsie Rolls or lollipops everywhere she went. She'd have her business card and a Tootsie Roll taped to the back of it. And then I had another woman that made custom wine labels for wine with her team on it. And they would give those out as gifts every year. So it was something funny. They sold sleep steadies, and they would have these masks on with their hair crazy, and they made it comical and fun. So there's something that you can do to differentiate yourself that is in line with your personal brand. If you're a wine drinker, if you're a candy eater, if you're a very serious person, you can find something that's in line with your brand. I've made custom fortune cookies for cancer patients with inspirational fortunes inside, right? Because I'm an inspiring person. I have a live show. It's called The Art of Inspired Selling. Like, inspire is my word. So you can be so creative to express your personal brand in your daily selling cycle, in your daily selling, whatever you do, that helps you stand out from the crowd and brings a little piece of you into whatever corporate situation you're doing, or if you're an entrepreneur, brings it, your brand can come into your day-to-day sales or business. The third question was, what are people doing wrong on LinkedIn? Yes. Yeah. So there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things people are doing right on LinkedIn. And for that, I'll give you a happy clap.
That was the bad stuff.
But let's get to the bad stuff. So one day I sat down and I just started writing. I'm like, what am I seeing on LinkedIn that's just irking me? And so I actually created these 25 common mistakes people are making on LinkedIn. And I could just read a couple of them just because I have them here. People think that to gain visibility and to gain engagement and to gain more views, they need to post daily on whatever social media platform they have. And I call these people, not everybody, but we're only talking about the people that make the mistakes. I call them spaghetti throwers, because today they're talking about what they did at the beach, and tomorrow they're talking about something they did with their colleagues, and then they're selling on LinkedIn, and then they're doing other videos. Like, they just are doing all of these busy activities every day, and they possibly don't even know what their target market finds engaging. You know, are they spreading those posts on? There's 3 different types of posts that you would do: an educational post, an entertaining post, or an inspirational post. So maybe they're just throwing up information over and over and over again, and their target market, maybe they're between the ages of 25 and 35. And those people don't want to read a bunch of text. They want to watch videos because they're consuming their content in video. So until you understand how your target market consumes your content, you shouldn't post daily until you understand exactly how your target market, how you're going to move them through the buyer's journey, and then create that type of content that's going to be educational, inspirational, and entertaining to your target market. So that's one thing I see wrong. Consistency is very important, but what can you sustain? Can you sustain 3 posts a week? And if you're going to do 3 posts, then one's educational, one's inspirational, and one's entertaining. So then you just like take this overwhelming thought and you make those 3 really, really good. You make them really good, and then you can see how they performed. And then, we're all in data-driven decision making, right? You should be in a data-driven decision making spot. Mm-hmm. So you let that data show you how your audience was engaging, and engagement for businesses means it actually has a positive impact on your business, and it's going to help move the needle. So vanity metrics isn't something we're talking about. It's something that's actually going to move the needle for your business. It depends on your brand, but you can find something entertaining about, and remember, guys, it's not about you. It's about the audience. What does the audience think is entertaining? If you're an accountant, you still laugh. If you're an attorney, you still laugh. Just because you work in an environment that might be dry, you can find something entertaining for your audience. And if you have a zero creativity in your body, you can find somebody else's content to share that's entertaining. So then you're still providing some sort of entertaining content for your audience, as long as it's relevant and it's not competitive. Another one that drives me crazy is the more people I tag, the more engagement I will have. Right? Yeah. So when people create posts, and then the next thing you know, there's 25 comments later, and there's 20 names in the comments. The time that you should tag people would be, let's say we repositioned this interview and you tag me in it to let me know that my video is up, or I put it up and I tag you, Rob, to let you know. That's a totally acceptable, in my book, way to tag. Let's say that you're curating content on LinkedIn, and maybe your magazine created this great article that I want to share with my audience, because you guys remember, you don't have to create all your own content. You can share somebody else's content. So then maybe I want to tag the magazine about the content. So that also is an acceptable tag. Or you're tagging somebody you went to a trade show with and you watched somebody speak. You can tag the speaker. Those are okay. But the gross tags of all of these people, for me, is just annoying. And I feel that you shouldn't get in that practice of begging for people to view, especially if it's not relevant to them, their industry, or anything that's going to help them out professionally.
That list of 25 things, is that something that people can access? Or
yes, I do. It's a downloadable PDF. And if you download it, then every myth that I have on the 25 on the PDF, then you'll get an email that demystifies the myth and takes you through how we're busting the myth. So there's some occasional information that will come with that PDF.
One thing I wanted to mention while we're on this topic is you've built quite a big following yourself on LinkedIn, which is growing pretty rapidly, I imagine, with the content that I've seen from you. What is it that you sort of credit that to? Is it just following that structure, or is it, how do you post? Do you do it three times a week? Do you do it daily? Obviously, you don't blanket tag people. Like, what's been the secret sauce for you?
It depends on how many people like or comment your post within the first 2 hours of posting it. Mm-hmm. And so I've had a post that was picked up by accountants and I won't say it went viral, but it's like at 15 or 20,000 views, within a day. Uh-huh. And it was picked up by Ernst & Young. You can see the analytics. I'm like, I don't even market to Ernst & Young, but it was somebody picked it up and they must have shared it, right? So that was an educational piece of content that I made a carousel post on. So that's something you guys should be using. Those are performing really well right now. And also using polls. Those are performing really well right now, especially on mobile. Every time you open, you guys tell me, every time you open your LinkedIn app, if there isn't a poll on there, I would be shocked. For some reason, they're serving up those polls. So my growth has happened by delivering that valuable content. I'm not selling. I'm not spamming, just delivering value and things that your audience can take and implement today, something they can do that's helpful for them. I love it when I get testimonial through a DM that someone will say, oh my gosh, that training class you gave, I implemented it and I saw a 30% increase in my business. I'm like, I don't know who you are, but that's so great that you actually, you know what? We want to reward action takers because not everybody is going to be an action taker. People are afraid to give away their secret sauce, but give it away and celebrate those people that actually are going to take action on what you're training, and then support the people that need your coaching, your consulting. Staying in your lane, showing your subject matter expertise, and letting people know always who you serve, what business problem you solve, and what the outcome is of working with you through your messaging consistently over and over and over again will help people know who you are. And when they have that problem, they'll raise their hand and they'll come to you. And then that will bring a steady stream of inbound leads for you on LinkedIn.
You mentioned there about polls.
There's a strategy I can deliver to use polls in your favor. So let's say that, and remember, I'm a strategist, so everything you do needs to have a strategy behind it. So if I'm going to do a poll and I don't know, I kind of have a question, does my target market want to, I did this poll, does my target market want to know more about how to fix their LinkedIn profile? Would they like a little more information about the best kind of graphics to make for LinkedIn? Or do they want to know about the right kind of content to post on LinkedIn? So I did that poll. 86% of the people wanted to know about content. So that's what inspired me to do my 25 myths. Well, okay, well, if we're talking about content, let me tell you the 25 things you shouldn't do about creating content. So there's so many ways you can use polls to engage with your target market. So those other two people, this is just a tip for you guys, a hack, if you will. Those other 3 questions that I asked, the people that commented or voted for wanting to know about how to write their LinkedIn profile. What if you had a downloadable PDF that you could send to them so that they could find out information on their own how to do LinkedIn profiles? What if you had a Canva template for people about how to create LinkedIn event banners, business banners, the best way to do your LinkedIn profile, like erase the background, make it loud so that people stop the scroll? What if you could deliver them a template? And then what if the people that wanted content got my 25 myths delivered to them so that they knew 25 things they could be doing wrong to create content? Now you've provided value to your audience, no matter what answer they gave in that. You have statistics that you can repeat and share with everybody. Oh my gosh, that poll you took, 86% of the people wanted to know how to create better content. You could create a poll, you could create a post around that. You just got in front of all of those people and delivered value to them. And now you can start engaging with the people for whatever you might be launching. So that poll, that really simple poll, turned into this big strategy that you can now be very intentional about the type of polls that you write. And, you know, one of the other myths that I have is that every post you write has to have an image, because a lot of people get caught up with what picture am I going to take? Polls don't have images. There's no images. Don't write this really super long post and then have a poll. Keep it short. But it's so simple. You could be having a board discussion and the CEO thinks something, the CMO thinks something, and the sales VP thinks something. Put it in a poll. Say, hey, we're in a silo. Let's take this out to our target market and let them decide for us. And then we have statistics, once again, data-driven decisions to be able to decide what way we might move. So polls are good. They're quick too, to get information back.
I think what would be great to know is for a lot of people, a lot of people right now are struggling with various different things. It'd be good to hear a little bit about, if you don't mind, something that you might have struggled with in the past and that you overcame, and it brought you to where you are now.
So one of the things, and you might not even believe it, is that I was afraid to talk about myself and my journey and to be vulnerable in front of other people. Like even just saying that right now, I have like goosebumps crawling up my legs and my arms. But to overcome that, I did two things. So now I feel very comfortable in front of the camera. As a matter of fact, I'll even go ride my bike. I did a video, I went live recently. I rode my bike and I had this inspirational thought, and I came home and I popped open the camera, no shower, like in my kit from riding my bike. Okay, people, getting in front of the camera is not about you. You know your brand. It's about waking up and understanding what value can I deliver to my audience? Who has a problem that I can solve today? When you take that monkey off your back and you change it to how what's coming out of your mouth is going in line with your brand and your why you wake up in the morning, what inspiration you want to deliver to the world, it shifts the dynamics completely. So I did a 30-day video challenge where I had to go live and make videos every day for 30 days. I've done it twice or three times. So that helped my fear of cameras. The other thing I did when the pandemic hit is I launched a live show because I thought, I have this beautiful network. How can I help my network? How can I bring my over 10, approaching 11,000 people in my network, plus Facebook, plus Instagram, plus Twitter, right? All of those people. How can I'm connected to some pretty fabulous people. How can I pull information out of them and deliver it to an audience, to maybe somebody's having a bad day or they're curled up in fetal position? How can I make their day better? And so I launched this live show, and it just started as a Facebook Live. It was a challenge, once again, from somebody that said, do it, just do it. So I started my live, and it was fun. It was called Facebook Fiesta. And I had all these streamers in the background, and I was like, okay, to be on the Facebook Fiesta, you have to mix a cocktail. What cocktail are you going to mix when this pandemic's over and we could have a party together and hit a piñata? What kind of cocktail are you going to mix? Well, year two, we're still right in the middle of it. But that just went into really creating this show called The Art of Inspired Selling. And, through those shows, I've been asked to be on-screen talent for different places. I've auditioned for commercials. LinkedIn came to me and asked me if I would do an audition to do a LinkedIn Learning. I've been asked to be a contributing writer for like Inc. magazine. And so I pitched an article, they didn't take it, but then I was like, okay, that imposter syndrome that you might think you have, people are out there watching you. So continue to do what you're doing because people are listening and people are watching and people are feeling inspired. I still cry when people send me messages that say, you inspire people I don't know, respond to some of my writing or some of my videos. And they just send me a message, you inspired me. You don't know, but I've been following your journey. And because of what you did, I've done this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, it's just so amazing. So that's how I overcame being afraid of telling my story. That's how I overcame being afraid to be on camera. That's how you are enough. Your journey and what you've done in life, nobody can replicate, nobody can duplicate because it's your own set of DNA, it's your own circumstances. You are where you are today. Look inside and find what story you can deliver to somebody else that might be able to help them. And so that's what I've overcome. And that's why it is that I do what I do today, because I know there's somebody out there that I might be able to deliver a message to. I might speak and they pick up that message. I might talk about being resilient. My father was murdered during the pandemic. He was shot 6 times in the stomach in a carjacking. And because of COVID, my siblings couldn't get him to a hospital because they couldn't take him because of trauma. Just that story is just horrible, right? 60 days later, my stepfather had a heart attack, drove himself to the hospital, couldn't get into the emergency room because of COVID. And died in the emergency room waiting to be seen, 60 days apart. I mean, those stories could make somebody not wake up the next day. But if I can share how I've gotten through those stories, through the resiliency, use the tools that I have, talk about them openly, take the time I need to heal. If those kind of things can impact people, then I'm all about sharing it and being vulnerable on camera to many people. So that's why I do it.
It's really powerful. I mean, there was a few things you said there that sort of struck me. I mean, obviously, real tragedy that no one should have to go through. So I'm really sorry that you did. But something that sort of put some excitement in me was when you said about the opportunities that came from doing what you did. You didn't expect it; they just happened.
No.
The universe
Yes.
brought them to you.
Yes.
I'm just interested. In terms of if you could talk to yourself a year or 2 years ago, and the fears that you might have had about being on camera. Were any of them realized? Were there any trolls? Did anyone say anything behind your back that came back to you? Or was it just a case of like, none of that happened and I should have just done it?
Yes, just do it. You're not making it until there is a troll out there that stalks you or says something. I had a stalker on LinkedIn that was almost scary. Right. I was like afraid. He was saying, if you unfriend me or if you disconnect from me, I will publicly shame you. I mean, it's just some crazy. There's crazy out there, but you just kind of have fun with it now. I think I've had lots of marriage proposals, and I'm probably going to get millions of dollars from my beloved in, I don't know which country it is, that's going to give me money soon. You just reframe it, and you use that instead of becoming anxious, you use it to create excitement. I'm the ultimate reframer. So you reframe the situation to something that is palatable, so that you can use it to fuel you to go on to do more. So yeah, I would say to myself, just do it. Don't be afraid to leave. If you're unhappy, the corporation is not going to change how they're operating. If you're in some place that no longer serves you, don't make it about the company's toxic environment. You have a choice. Every morning you wake up, you choose to be there. If you're in a bad relationship, you choose to be there, right? So we all have choices every day at midnight. When the day starts, it's a whole new slate. You can make a whole new set of decisions and leave yesterday where it was and look forward to what's coming tomorrow. So yeah, I don't even know what's going to come next, right? It's fun and it's exciting, and I'm loving the journey of where it's going.
I see a lot of books in the background, and I just want to know if there's any particular book or even a podcast that you can't live without. You find yourself going back to it, or you always recommend to people.
It depends on what I'm doing that day. I'm never without headphones and listening to something. So today, right now, I'm listening to Mel Robbins and to her 5-second rule. And so I do take swift action. Sometimes I wish I'd think a little bit more before I do things, but I do take swift action, and it's really important to get over your fear. So that's something I would recommend. On my shelf, it just depends on where you are, right? If you're working on finances, or your quotes or traction is great for corporations, selling books. Tony Robbins is one of my favorites. And as far as podcasts go, I really, I think quickly. So I like some of the shorter podcasts. There's sales tips where you can just listen to probably 20 tips or 25 tips while you're going for a 30-minute walk or a run. And you can hear all these positive selling tips that help you. And if you fill your mind with all of those things, that little friend that you have that lives in your head that tells you in the morning you're ugly, you're nothing, you're not going to amount to anything, don't do it. You can replace that with all of these positive things that you hear over and over and over again. And then that roommate in your head just takes a back seat.
I mean, in terms of what's coming next for you, Kathryn, can you tell us a little bit about, what you're planning for, say, the next 6 to 12 months, and how people can follow you in your work? I know you mentioned a few different social channels, so feel free to shout them out now.
The real Kathryn E. Nuñez, if you put that in, then you can find me. It's the same handle on all of my social media, which is something I would express to you, the audience. Make sure that it's very simple. If you Google my name, Kathryn Evans Nuñez, they take up the whole page of Google. You can find me there somehow. So my live show streams on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Recently, I was doing LinkedIn profiles, because it drives me crazy when somebody throws up on their LinkedIn profile and it's all about them and they write it in the third person. And people are on LinkedIn to talk to people, to find people. So if you have your profile written in a third person, they're probably not going to reach out to you because they're going to think they're going to get your assistant and you're not going to answer the phone, or they can't really talk to you. But what I was finding is that I was speaking all the time on how to use LinkedIn. That's what we're talking about today, right? Personal branding and LinkedIn. And I was taking people straight into content creation when they were working with me one-on-one. I was missing a gap in that. How can I teach more people how to be more successful on LinkedIn? And then we can get into content creation, like how you're going to create content, what you should do, how to match it to the buyer's journey. So I'm launching right now a group training program for how to use Sales Navigator, because a lot of people also, they use Sales Navigator and they have a subscription to it and they don't really know how to use it. So I'm launching a group training program. It's going to be 6 weeks long. There'll be live teaching. There's a course that goes along with it, so that if somebody learns book smarts, they can watch the course. If somebody likes live training, they can come and meet weekly in the group for live training. And then there'll also be a coaching piece where we'll look at an obstacle somebody's having and we'll hot seat them and we'll look at how I would have done it, or if somebody in the group has an idea, then we can help them mastermind whatever situation they're having. So that's launching. There's 15 people in this first program that's going to happen. And then I'll continue next year launching a new group program every month. So the first one's going to be LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Then we'll switch over to selling with video. And then we'll switch back to LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and then perhaps another selling with video. But we're going to have a group component in the business now every month. So it's more affordable. I can reach more people. And people, I find that, and I'm one of those people, I have so many courses that I've started and then squirrel ran across my desk and I didn't finish it. But now I'm going to hold you accountable to start and finish the program and to actually have success at the end through learning how to use Sales Navigator.
Well, Kathryn, I think that's all we've got time for, and all you've got time for. I've taken a lot of your time today, so I really appreciate you talking to us. It's been fantastic, and I'm looking forward to seeing how your journey progresses over the next few months.
No problem.
Thanks, Kathryn.